Once we finish the pre-production process, you should be in a really good shape to start the fun bit, which is the production of the video. But even before we roll cameras, there's still a few more things that need to be thought out and thought through to make sure that your shoot days are as efficient as possible, they run smoothly, and you capture all of the footage you need to make the video a success. Having a really in-depth, organised travel plan for you and your crew, if necessary, is a really important part of production and making sure it's going to be a success. So if you're travelling to London, or in particular if you're travelling on a plane for an overseas job, pre-production and more specifically the packing of your cases and your equipment is really and truly the difference between success and failure. There's so much to think about. It honestly is a very stressful thing to do, and it makes pre-production for those kind of shoots absolutely vital. Most of the equipment that we use on shoots on a day-to-day basis we own in-house. I prefer to do that because it means that the equipment, we get to use it on a much more regular basis. We can set it up in the exact way that works for our kind of workflow, and I've found over the years I've got a much better result from doing that rather than renting stuff. My current A camera setup at the moment is the Canon C300 Mark II that you see behind me. This is how we have it rigged for most commercial and content jobs, and this is the kind of amount of kit that we'd bring to a shoot. So we'd have the camera body, as you can see, a full shoulder rig system on there, also support for a matte box and filtration. Then we also take monitors, a full set of lenses, follow focus, batteries, media, all the kind of equipment that you need to run a camera package, and we tend to package that at the moment in a large Pelican 1610 case with Trek Pack, which is a really awesome way of packaging it securely. And obviously if you've invested that much in equipment, you need to make sure that it arrives on location safe and sound. My experience over the years has taught me a lot about what works and what doesn't. Ultimately, you want equipment that is reliable, strong, and isn't going to let you down after a day of shooting. The last thing you want is for you to have to waste time trying to reattach something to a rig that's come loose. You can't move the monitor in a way that you or the director wants to see it, and all of these little things are really what separates the kind of cheaper kit to the professional kit. Most of the time you'll get good results with the cheaper kit, but the professional kit is professional and costs for the professional price because it's reliable and durable, and it will do what you need it to do every single time. We spoke in the last video about how important it is to have everything prepared in the pre-production stage before you get to set. One of the most important things to worry about is making sure you've got a script, a storyboard, or a set of interview questions ready to shoot with on the production day. Taking the time to have all this produced before you get to the location will help the shoot immeasurably in a number of ways. It's going to make sure ultimately you're calm because you know what you're doing. You're not panicking, you're not running around thinking, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? You know to a lesser or greater extent what you're here to capture, what you have to achieve, and it allows you to be creative. So the other advantage of having a plan in place is that when things go wrong, and they will go wrong, you've got something to work from. You've got a basis of your intention. And ultimately you can work from that to either change your plans and in a calm and collected fashion, which looks great in front of a client, or to make sure that this new idea that you've got is still going to work in the edit, and ultimately make sure that no matter what happens, you're going to go home and back to the edit suite with everything you need to tell the story. Especially when we're producing sort of branded content and telling those kind of real stories, a key component of that is interviewing real people. We use a number of different lenses for interviews depending on the situation, and both have their pros and cons depending on the situation you're filming in. Sometimes we use zoom lenses like the Sigma 18-35 1.8 or the Canon 70-200 f2.8 lenses. And these can be useful because they allow you to adjust the frame during the interview. But normally we use prime lenses for a lot of what we're shooting, including interviews, just because they tend to be faster and sharper and produce a better image than zoom lenses. The final and arguably the most important thing with regards to an interview is capturing good sound. Sound is just seen as this kind of like, oh, it's just, you know, another thing to worry about, but actually it is it. That is the most important thing with an interview. And in most cases, it's actually more important to get a location that sounds good and enables you to capture good, clear sound than somewhere that looks beautiful. A lot of my shoots these days, because of the importance of that, we will hire a separate sound operator to worry about sound. And that frees me up to worry about directing and shooting. But obviously not all shoots, and obviously especially early in your career, you're not going to have the luxury of doing that. So you need to make sure that you're capturing good sound if you're going to have a successful product at the end of it. So once you've got the more technical aspects of your interview all set up and ready to go, the other side to consider to make sure that you capture everything you really need to is making sure your participant is really at ease and is comfortable in the situation. So that's why we like to make sure that we meet with the people ideally before we undertake an interview with them. And that helps for a number of reasons. It allows you to script some interview questions to get the responses that you want. The other advantage it really has is making sure that you can kind of build a rapport with the person before you sit down and kind of sit them in front of a load of cameras and lights. But if you can get them to focus on you and just have a conversation, a natural sounding conversation with you, the result that you're going to get is going to be much better. They're going to make less mistakes, and ultimately you're going to get a better result in less time, which is basically what everyone's looking for on set. When we're producing a piece of content, the interview is only really one half of the process. But the other side of things is to capture the visual narrative that's going to run alongside it and is going to embellish and add to the story that we're telling. It's really important that the footage is relevant and interesting and visually stunning. And that's something that we're really interested in doing for our videos, making sure that not only is the narrative really strong, but that they look great as well. Like when you're lighting for an interview, you need to make sure that the techniques you use for shooting the B-roll, in particular the camera movement techniques, are appropriate for the story that you're trying to tell. So for example, a music video we shot recently, we shot it all handheld on an easy rig in quite a kind of dynamic, flowing, moving style. And that was fantastic for that kind of a thing, but it would have been completely inappropriate for a more slower paced narrative perhaps about an older person. It just wouldn't have fitted. Filmmaking's a lot like cooking. You want to make sure that there's a good mix of different flavours and different filmmaking techniques. And the way that we do that is to make sure that there's a mixture of different techniques that are appropriate for the story. After a few days of lugging cameras around and worrying about all of the plethora of things you have to worry about during production, you're going to be exhausted, but hopefully happy. I really love production. It's my favourite part of the whole process, and there's nothing beats being behind the camera and pulling off that great shot that you've been planning weeks before in the pre-production process.